Do you feel like you're bumbling along, reacting to life as it goes, versus being in control and having that quote unquote dream life? Well, that was me, and I'm going to show you in this video how I took action and my story for designing a life that I love and that I actually dreamed of. Hello everyone, if you're new here, my name is Julie. I'm an occupational therapist, a mom of 2 little kids with 1 more on the way, and I want to show you how I created some version of my dream life in this video through visualization. Before you click away, make sure that you subscribe, hit that notification bell, give this video a thumbs up if you like videos that are here to make your life better. Truly, that is my purpose, to make your life meaningful and mindful and intentional. And make sure that you check out the free resource below. I have a new mini course that is just releasing, all about how to create that intentional life, how to break free of barriers in your mind that are holding you back. It has a great PDF downloadable book full of bonuses, jam-packed. Make sure to check it out down below. With all that said, let's jump right in. So I don't know how I was fortunate enough to have this realization at a fairly young age. I think I must have been, late teens, something like that. But there was something that came across my mind when I remember having this vivid moment of realizing that people, human beings, can do anything. The weird thing in my teenage brain was like, well, maybe if you want to be a gymnast in the Olympics, that would be hard if you didn't start training at the age of 4. But other than that, you can do anything you want. And I think I was naive a little bit, but at the same time, I appreciate that sort of childlike wonder of realizing that the world is full of endless possibilities. And I guess my main takeaway was it's up to us to decide what we want and to realize and believe and know that it is possible. And the same goes with your family. And so I'm going to talk you through my brief version of how visualization helped shape my life and where I am, why it works, and how you can do this for your own family so you can ultimately create your dream life, which I know is like the thing of fairy tales, right? And it's a thing that happens to other people. But how do you think those people got there? They're just normal people like you and me. They started off like that. And I want to explain to you how you can do this too. Before we jump into my story, I just want to prove this point to you. You can do this as a test for yourself, or maybe you've had this experience. Think back about when you were trying to fix something that was a little tricky. So you're trying to screw in a little screw of something that broke, or put a lid on a jar, or something that you don't do every day that will require focus and concentration, but you know that you can do it. You've probably done something similar to this in the past, and so you have a good idea that this is something you would be able to master. So let's say you took a jar that was really sticky, or you needed to put a piece into something else, and you try and attempt to do this, and you tell yourself, I can't do this. This is crazy. This is way too hard for me. There's no way I'm gonna get this done. And what do you know? You fumble, your hands slip, it breaks, something happens, and you're unable to complete something that realistically, yes, it's a little bit challenging, but it is well within your wheelhouse of skills and talents to fix, right? Take that same thing and tell yourself with an open mind, hey, I can do this. I've done this before. I can do this. I can rise to this challenge. And let me tell you, you will have a different experience. Now, maybe that's a silly example, but it really demonstrates how crucial and important the mind is for everything you do. I talk a lot about this in my courses that I run. I have details down below, and just in my content in general. But your mind, and especially when you are a parent, because that is such a challenging time for most of us, your mind is what is running the show, and you want to learn how to have your mind help you and help your children, which we're going to get into, versus hindering you and preventing you from doing the things that you need to do, because it really all comes down to it. Yes, people are born into really difficult circumstances, and some people have more resources than others objectively. But if you make that decision to change the way you think, you discard those excuses of your background, of your environment, you can do anything. we have seen it time and time again where the underdog comes out and like surprises us all. It happens all the time. And what makes those people so special? I will wager a bet that most of that is down to self-belief, having the right mindset, and being open. And that is really the difference between someone in the same set of circumstances who succeeds and someone who doesn't. So briefly, I want to just tell you how I saw visualization work for me. And I go into a lot more detail in the Organized Mom, but essentially a bit of background about me is that I am from South Africa. I'm from a pretty conservative background, a pretty traditional background. This kind of mindset stuff is not something that we really spoke about growing up, or was not something ever taught in schools. Let me know if you can relate. I think that's probably the same for a lot of people. I remember having this desire to move to the States. You know, a lot of young people want to go travel after school or whatever it is. And for me, that was going to America, as cheesy as that sounds. But the thing is, I didn't really know anyone in my family or my close friends who had done anything like this. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. I had never been to the States. I had barely traveled beyond South Africa. If you look it up on a map, it's right down at the bottom of the world. We're very far from other kind of westernized countries. And, you know, it was kind of a big dream to have, to be honest. In my sort of immature teenage mind, started to visualize what it would be like. And then when it became time that to actually make a decision to move, there were a lot of obstacles. If you have ever moved, or if you've ever immigrated countries or anything like that, you will know that there are so many hidden things that you have to do that you just don't anticipate. And it seems like you're never gonna get there. It seems like you're doing the impossible. I had to, as an occupational therapist, figure out how I'm gonna get a job in the US, how I'm gonna get paid, how I'm gonna get visa sponsorship, all this kind of stuff. Somehow I managed to do that through what I believe is visualization, because I would write down kind of my goals on like little post-its. It was nothing fancy. And I just kind of held that belief that this was going to happen. And obviously I took steps to make it happen. You don't win the lottery without buying a ticket. It was more than that. There's some magic involved when it comes to these things where you have very little control over the outcome, where it's not a certain thing that's going to happen, because let's be real, what is? And so I needed that magic and I needed that self-belief. Then when we moved to the States, we moved to Chicago, somehow I got a job, which was like very unusual in our circle of kind of international students. And then we made the decision to move to New York. I needed to get an advanced degree. Well, I didn't need to, but I needed to do an advanced certification, which would really improve my chances of getting a good job in New York City. Somehow I managed to study and pass this exam, and let me tell you, I left that exam thinking, I don't know what happened, but I held on to this belief that, you know, it was possible. I don't know if I was fully obsessing about it, and I was very nervous that I hadn't passed it, and it was expensive, and who wants to study for a test again? But somehow, by some miracle, I passed it, and I actually ended up getting, at the time, my dream job as an occupational therapist in New York City. And just reflecting on that, when you are from New York or from the States, like, maybe that's not a big deal, but I'm from, you know, a small city on the bottom of the world. It was an unusual path that I took. So that was like first sort of dreams come true, and I was like, wow. And these are things that I had really, really visualized and thought about and wanted in my life, and I didn't really know how it was gonna happen, but I just wanted it to happen. And then when it came to having children, this was also kind of strange, because I visualized what my children would look like. I visualized what, you know, gender each child would be, even though ultimately I don't care. As long as they're healthy, it doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter. But, you know, if you're honest with yourself, most people do have some kind of preference maybe, but I always wanted a big brother. So I thought it would be great to have a boy first and then a girl, and like one of each, to see what it's like to have both. And that's what happened. And even this baby, who is a girl, I also really wanted a sister for my other girl. You know, I mean, a brother would have been very sweet too, but just kind of things like that happening, even down to the fact that they have blonde hair and blue eyes. I thought, wouldn't that be cool? And boom, wouldn't you know? And the weird thing is that like my husband and I have dark kind of hair. So anyway, people always comment that our children do not, like, where does this blonde hair come from? Call it visualization, call it just genetics. But I really, you know, thought about this kind of stuff, especially with my second child. I thought about what kind of birth I wanted. It was very similar to what I wanted in the end. And all this kind of stuff really just set the stage for how my life has panned out. Now, is every element of my life perfect? No, obviously not. But the parts that I visualized came true. And that's kind of what I want you to take from this video. So what you're probably more here for is, how does this impact your family and how can this positively affect the outcome that you have on your life? And here's the thing, if you want to visualize for your family, you just have to do it. You just have to visualize. You have to dream about what your life is going to be about, but not in a way of holding on too tightly to it. You dream because you wish and it feels great, but you cannot be attached to that dream. And I know that sounds so contradictory to what I've just said, but you can't be obsessing about it, because the way that I see visualization is kind of like on a computer when you have programs running in the background that you're not even aware of. It must have been set up, those programs must have been set up somehow on the computer to help it run, but you don't really actively check on them. You don't necessarily like go in there and obsess every day. It's just happening. And that's what's happening with visualization. It's going into your subconscious. It is having that dream before it manifests into reality. And this is something that is spoken a lot about in sort of manifestation circles and psychology and self-development and that kind of stuff. So it is a thing, you know, I'm not just making it up. But this is something that you need. You need to be able to dream the dream first, see the future, and then put it on the back burner. Do not have the attachment to it and let it kind of work its way out. And so with your family, what I would recommend that you do is visualize, dream. What does your house look like? What does it smell like? What are you cooking and tasting? What does it feel like to be in your home? What is the sense that you get when you walk in there? Those are the kind of things that you want to do to set up the family life. And, you know, it kind of covers things like, you don't want to feel stressed about money. You don't want to feel stressed about working like, you know, an animal every day and not being able to see your children. You're visualizing a feeling and a sense of calm in your home. You're visualizing a clutter-free environment, perhaps. All these kinds of things are really important, because in order for them to happen, you need to dream them into your subconscious first. Our actions as human beings are 95% governed by our subconscious mind. We are doing things we don't even really have control over. We think we're in control with our consciousness, but not really. So it's really important that you are feeding your subconscious mind with things that you actually want to play out, because the opposite is true. You feed it negative things and that kind of unfolds in front of you. You know how the saying is, be careful what you wish for. So make sure that you're wishing for things that you actually want. Now, when it comes to children, something that I am focused on and want to continue to cultivate within my family is that subconscious wonder and dreaming state of children that naturally occur. As a parent, you are designing literally the blueprint for your child's subconscious and therefore the rest of their life, because from 0 to 8 years old, that is when the subconscious is forming, and that is going to be the inner voice that your children use to speak to themselves for the rest of their life. So you want to make sure that that voice is as, you know, kind and compassionate as possible, because heaven knows mine is very critical, very judgmental. It can be, and it's taken a lot of reprogramming for me to recognize this and to start living more intentionally and from a better place in life. So you really have a lot of power as a parent as to how your children go on to live their life and how they can visualize. So by using language like, you know, imagine what it would be like, or you can dream about this, or you can have anything that you desire when you want to put good intentions behind it, when you work towards it, all this kind of thing. You are really setting up your children for a life that they love. Not only are you visualizing for your family, but your children are going to take those lessons into life. And like, wouldn't it be amazing to learn about this kind of stuff as a young child and have this part of your normal reality reality that, hey, our subconscious is running the show and we want to feed it healthy, good, positive messages, rather than kind of having to learn this the hard way as an adult after you've already made so many mistakes or hurt yourself so much. It's so not necessary. Many of us grew up with this scarcity mindset. I know I did. And I want my children to grow up in abundance, with an abundance mindset that, yes, anything is possible. But there are all these special ingredients that have to happen in order for your dreams to come true. So if you like this video, I know it was a little bit out there, but I really feel passionate about visualization because I have seen it work in my life. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, make sure your notifications are turned on. Check out the free mini course down below with that jam-packed PDF. You'll find a lot of great stuff. Also, a lot of visualization affirmation techniques in there as well. And if you want to dive deeper with me, which would be such an honor, please make sure that you sign up for the waiting list for the Organized Mom for when we reopen. I'll be super excited to see you in there, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.